Ukrainians are suffering from massive blackouts as the country's power stations become the new focus of Russian President Vladimir Putin's aggression. The strikes on the capital, Kiev, claimed 2 more lives in the last 24 hours. Europe correspondent Lisette Raymer joins us now live from there. Lisette, this new strategy by Russia is proving effective.
It certainly is. 30% of the country's power stations have been destroyed in a little over a week. Currently, 3 cities, including Kiev, are dealing with power interruptions following these significant strikes on critical infrastructure. The Kiev mayor has warned residents here to conserve water and power. Many are now panic buying bottled water as a precaution. Moscow is trying to cripple the big cities before winter. But in the towns where the Russians have been and gone, things can hardly get much worse.
This family is now an army of its own, a single-file contingent of brave soldiers who are returning to the battlefield where they lost so much but won their war. The population of Supivka used to be 1,500. Now there are only 5. Vitaly and his sister Rita are taking their aunt to see the town for the first time. It's been just weeks since the Russians deserted this village, and their rampage is still raw.
How do you feel when you see all of this?
Fear and horror, Rita says, and it's no wonder.
This land is very dangerous to walk on because of booby traps and mines. But the locals tell us they've come along here several times now. They know it's safe.
So we follow their footsteps closely over downed power lines via new attractions. The town feels more like a museum of war, and each exhibition displays another stolen memory. Rita points out the house where she was born, the primary school she attended with her brother, the church where they prayed, and here at number 31 is where their mail is still sent. They try the door, but really, why bother? The Russians certainly never knocked. It was here, just down the road at the grocery store, that Putin's soldiers camped out for months. Their kitchen, their office and their bedrooms, where they killed time after their day job of doing much worse. Drawings of the Ukrainian tank they shot at, just for fun. 6 generations of his family grew up in this town. His great-grandfather and grandfather both fought alongside the Russians at war. A long legacy of border brotherhood that ends with Vitaly, he says.
The Russians have left their food, their medicine, their ammunition, even their money. 50 euros there on the ground, although you'd never pick that up because anything shiny is often a trap.
Ukrainian military patrol the land, scarecrows replaced by scarce soldiers, and the all too familiar soundtrack of war plays on repeat.
Well, you don't. Okay, so are you can hear that because we're just 10 kilometres from the border, the constant but faint rumble of artillery being fired in this direction. Makes your skin crawl.
Putin's men held this town hostage. The only way out was to move to Russia. Many here are yet to reconnect with their old neighbours, and sobering signs in the grass warn them not to get their hopes up. The man who lived in this house was killed after he was caught helping people escape. Some didn't make it, some did and will never look back. But others return now to reclaim what is rightfully theirs on the right side of the tracks.
Lisette, you've been in Ukraine for over a week now and, may I say, giving us an incredible insight into what's happening there. But what's your sense of where this war is at and how it's coming into winter?
Yeah, I think the return of the attacks all over the country has been deeply unsettling for people, but ultimately the war is being fought in the south and in the east, and there it truly is hell. Even in the liberated areas, you hear about them in the headlines, you feel hopeful, it feels like progress is being made, and it is, but the reality is a lot of those towns have been left unlivable. Those who have had houses to return to are now living there without food, power, of water, gas. The need is utterly overwhelming. The scale of destruction is almost impossible to express. It is just gut-wrenching, and when you look towards winter, it is only going to get harder. The buildings are broken, the people have been tortured mentally at the very least, but Ukrainians have lost so much already that they are more certain than ever that they will not surrender.
Europe correspondent Lisa Raymer, Tēnā koe.